It started with a simple, basic human need, water. But what citizens got in return was a massive breach of trust. In a chilling cyber incident, personal details of over 2.9 lakh Bengaluru Water Supply and Sewerage Board, that is BWSSB customers, have been compromised and listed for sale on a dark web forum. Details like Aadhaar numbers, PAN, phone numbers, email IDs, full addresses, and even payment records, all exposed. All available for just $500 or roughly 42,000 rupees. Details of the breach were revealed in a probe report published exclusively in the Deccan Herald newspaper. According to the report by cybersecurity firm CloudSec, the breach was discovered on 10th of April by their platform XVigil, which monitors threats across the surface, deep and dark web. A hacker using the alias pirates_gold was found offering direct access to BWSSB's database on an underground forum called Breach Forum. Even more disturbing is the fact that the attacker was reportedly ready to negotiate prices, indicating such desperation to sell. The exposed data didn't just include records, it also offered root access, which means the hacker could potentially manipulate, delete, or corrupt billing and grievance records. That's not just a privacy threat, ladies and gentlemen, that's a direct hit on a public utility's integrity. CloudSec confirmed the breach likely occurred via database credentials carelessly exposed in a publicly accessible configuration file. While WSSB sources claim the billing data is safe and stored securely at the Karnataka State Data Center, CloudSec's findings paint a very, very dark picture, one that could leave thousands vulnerable to targeted phishing attacks and digital fraud.
Yeah, it's very scary and very unfortunate that this data has been breached. And I mean, going ahead, it puts a lot of uncertainty within us because BESCOM, Aadhaar, there are so many databases that they have with the government. And if we do not have proper security with AI and other things coming in with dark web, it's really, really a scary situation for the normal, regular citizens.
Government should hold the accountability of having the highest integrity towards data privacy. The problem is, I think our government is not very transparent. When things like these happen, they brush it under the carpet. They need to come out with transparency. We as citizens need to understand what data has been breached, what level of data has been breached, how much will it affect the people, and what is the government doing for it?
Well, data breach is very concerning because data is something which we often keep it very private. Especially when we download any app on the phone, there is something called permissions where we keep everything safe so that nobody gets our information. But when something like this happens from a government portal, it's very concerning because when we look up to a government, we hope that they keep our data safe, they keep everything safe and secured with them. But when something like this happens, it becomes very scary for us because we don't know whom to trust.
However, when BWSSB's chairperson Ram Prasad Manohar was queried about this serious breach, he said that a formal complaint will be filed with the cyber crime police. And this is what he said: if the breach is confirmed, we will identify the cause and work with technical experts to strengthen our data security. The real question now, did citizens unknowingly trade their identity just to get a water connection? And more importantly, who takes responsibility for ensuring that your data and my data stays protected when we sign up on a government portal, and that being the operative phrase, government portal. First up, my colleague Mohammad Wajiullah is joining us, and then I'll go to Shaurajit Mujumdar, who's security researcher, CloudSec. Vaji, thank you so much for joining, and let me first speak with you before I go to Shaurajit Mujumdar. I want to talk to you, Vaji, about, this is the most shocking thing ever. And you also tried to speak with the BWSSB chairperson. Do you see a kind of very casual thing about it? Yeah, we will fix it. Don't you think they should be already at it? What is the status right now, Wajiullah?
Vasudha, as we speak, the situation is under control, is what the BWSSB is saying, that there is not much of an information that has been breached according to the BWSSB, and they are going through their database. They are checking if the breach that has been mentioned by the particular newspaper and by CloudSec and Sarojit, who's the person behind this entire thing, and they are going through this. And as we already heard Ram Prasad also saying that if there is a breach like this that has happened, then they are going to make stringent action and they're going to strengthen their database with regards to where this leakage happened, how it happened, who are the people behind it. And these are something they will look into it and file a case against it. But filing a case after it's done is something that is of no use because the data that had to be breached has already been breached. And from what we've learned is it was sold for $500, which is a meager 40,000 rupees. Is also something concerning because now nobody has an idea on whose hand has this data gone into. Already Bangalore tops when it comes to cyber crimes because there's a lot of awareness here with regards to people, and people go complain, and that is why the cases are registered high. Now, if such a large amount of data of close to 2 lakh 90,000 people have been breached, that means a lot of these people are now under the radar of getting scammed all over again. They will also get all these phishing exercises where you will get loan apps, you will get you will get options of doubling your money. So all these things, these scamsters will now get access to these numbers, these data. And in this data breach that has happened, one thing is important is what has been breached so far. What we know is the Aadhaar card has been breached, PAN card has been breached, phone numbers, payment details. So all these things are very private details. And like one of the guys also mentioned in one of the bites, that we expect the government to make sure that at least their privacy is maintained. Now, if it's leaking from a government portal, then it is concerning not just to Bengaloreans but to citizens across, keeping in mind that their cyber security servers are not that strong enough that any breach can happen.
Thank you so much, Vaji, for joining us on this broadcast. That was Wajiullah who actually told us this story which we picked up this morning. And now to Shorojit Mujumdar, security researcher, CloudSec, the man who actually filed this report. Thank you so much, Shorojit, for joining us on this broadcast. I mean, what a story which sends, which gives you kind of goosebumps and also scares you. I mean, just a shiver ran through my body when I read that. First of all, for everybody who's watching it, particularly those from Bengaluru, I want to ask you, what made you do this report, Shorojit Mujumdar?
Right. Thank you for having me here.
It's a pleasure.
So, like you rightly mentioned, how in CloudSec, we have our external digital risk protection platform, XVigil. So that usually detects all of these breaches that happen, and if any of these breaches are being, there in the underground market. So when the platform picked it up, we immediately looked into it. We created a thorough research. We did a proper investigation, and that's how we came up with this report. And especially when the number that we saw in the breach, the post that was made in the underground market, that is what made us concerned that if this is actually accurate, then this is like a huge breach. So that's how we came up to it.
Now tell me, Shorojit Mujumdar, that what are the big dangers of this? You see, data privacy is a very, very important aspect of your life and my life because this is what we are dependent on most of the case. I want you to please elucidate on the fact my PAN card details are out there on BWSSB portal, which is a government-run portal. I have my Aadhaar card details and the payment details, my phone number. How does that expose me to a lot of data theft and thieves who are sitting there?
Right. So this kind of data is basically called PII, right? Personally identifiable information. And it is always a treasure trove for any cyber criminal out there. So once they have this kind of data on them about you, they can easily use that for any kind of attacks. Let's take spear phishing attacks or any kind of identity theft. And now let's take most of these days, we see a lot of scams such as the Ponzi scam or the pig butchering scam or any of these phishing scams where they send you a link, you click on it, and the next moment, you are putting in some of your details, they're harvesting that data, and then you're getting scammed of your money. So how do they reach out to you? So either they will reach out to you publicly, they'll post it on some WhatsApp group or maybe on a Facebook post. But other than that, nowadays they do targeted phishing. That is where they send you right in your chat box, right in your WhatsApp message. So this kind of information really helps them with that kind of an attack. So
Shorajita,
it's actually pretty concerning.
right. Shorajit, I also want to ask you this, that, according to BWSSB, it's not a major breach. They're taking care of everything. But, I do not know the subject as well as you do, Shorajit Mujumdar. Don't you think this is serious enough? Here we are, a lot of people, and I see in Bengaluru particularly, I mean, forget about Bangalore. The nationwide, if you call me, the first message you are getting is, if you get a message like this, if you get a link like this, do not click on it. It seems to be the government's utmost kind of priority to see that our data is safe and we are not scammed. Do you agree, Shorajit Mujumdar, when the BWSSB says that it is not a major breach?
Uh, See, well, basically, most of the times, these breaches happen to very small misconfigurations that are present since the beginning, right? Let's take when this website was developed or whenever this website was audited. I'm very sure that they missed out the part where an environment file was out there exposed and the credentials got breached, right? So I believe incidents like this, we should not start any kind of blame game, but instead, uh, if it's BWSSB who got breached here, what they should be doing right now is look into the report, look into what kind of investigation that has come up, and then maybe rectify the events, do an audit check if there is any backdoor that is still there that can still give the threat actor an access to it, and find out the possible IAVs, fix that issues, and make sure that this is continuously monitored. It's not a one-time thing. Incidents can keep happening, new updates keep coming in cybersecurity, new exploits, new vulnerabilities keep coming, and your infrastructure can anytime be vulnerable to something, right? So there is a need to make sure that you continuously monitor all of your infrastructure so that you stay updated and stay away from the bad guys out
So
there.
someone was caught napping, Shorajit Mujumdar. I'm so sorry. I mean, I know that you being very, very decent and you're saying let's not, there is no point blame gaming anybody. But I'm going to, that's my job. I'm a journalist, that someone was caught napping. A lot of people who are watching from Bengaluru will be so scared. I remember a series where a couple of guys would call you, it was there on one of the OTT platforms. I saw so many people panicking because, see, you may know this very well, but as you grow older, you may not know. I mean, there are women, senior citizens who are using it and they are terrified. Although they don't click on anything, they are so scared. I want to ask you, Shorajit Mujumdar, is that it just bad luck? Is that just BWSSB was vulnerable, or you think they did not follow what are called safety measures? Shorajit.
Yeah, absolutely. You are right in that point. I think this should have been better handled. This should have been continuously monitored so that any kind of exposed file that should not have been there. So that is definitely there. And like I said, so this requires continuous monitoring. Maybe that did not happen as how it should have happened, but then that is what caused the breach, right? So yeah, you're absolutely right from that point.
So let's now look at the other aspect of it. Someone called who was using an alias pirate, underscore gold or whatever his name or her name is selling the data on the dark web. What does that mean, Shorajit Mujumdar? Decode it for people who don't understand what it means to sell data, and will he receive money for selling this data? Why would anyone buy that data unless he or she is a scamster as well?
Right. Absolutely. So when you say that there is being data which is being sold on underground forums, that basically mean one of the infrastructure, maybe it from a public sector or a private sector, has been breached and they have exfiltrated all this data. And after that, they're selling it on the underground forum. Now, generally, they sell it for a price. They are also always ready to negotiate. Like in this case, they were, absolutely ready to negotiate and they were bringing down the price to literally anything so that, they can just sell off the data. And once this data is sold, they are either sold to other cyber criminals that can be sold to any kind of telecommunication industries or so many other industries that can use all of this data, and they literally act as gold mines for them or for cyber criminals to, carry out further attacks on individuals or the citizens of the country.
Right. I also want to ask you that, the report also says that the passwords were not compromised, right? In anything, what I understand, a common person understands is my username and my password, but this very clearly says the leak reportedly did not include user password. Sample data was shifted in the shared in the post, which indicated the scope of the breach. So, even if the password has not been shared, the data can get breached. Am I correct in assuming that?
Yes, yes, you're correct. So here what happened was the threat actor, Pirates Gold, he was not just selling the data dump, he was also selling the direct root access of the database, right? That is because there was this environment file where the credentials were out there exposed, and there was a login panel through which he logged in and he was able to access it. And the same access, he was selling it on the forum, right? So it did not include password because that particular database belonged to the water application portal of the BWSSB, right? So whenever you ask for new water applications or you pay any kind of challans, or let's take you have a grievance, you go to that portal and you put in the data out there. So let's take most of the data that got breached out there included your application ID, your name, email, phone number, your complete address, and other than that, the Aadhaar and the PAN cards, obviously. And also the more crucial part here is that since the direct access was being sold, anyone could have easily altered that data or could have deleted that data or even inserted new data. Now that could result in operational disruptions because let's take the entire database is deleted out from there. So BWSSB wouldn't have any data and the website or the entire infrastructure would be completely, unoperational. So similarly, this is what the point is here. So the password wasn't out there because it was an application portal. It
What?
was
Okay.
generally all of this data.
Right. Shorojit Mujumdar, what do I do? My data has been breached. I've been exposed. What recourse do I have? And for lakhs and lakhs of Bangaloreans who may be nervous right now, and please, guys, I'm not creating panic here. Shorojit Mujumdar, give us a solution.
See, the solution once again comes from the fact that they should have never been breached. There should have been proper controls out there.
Right.
But now that it has been breached, what we as citizens or what we as the victims can do is just stay aware to maintain proper cyber hygiene. By that, what I mean is whenever if there is a message coming in from a random phone number or they're giving you some kind of random link to click, just don't click it, don't put in your credentials, don't fall for the scams. If someone is calling you and saying they're from the bank and they would want your
Right.
OTP for some kind of transaction, just say no to it. And that is all that we can do from our end. That is to maintain the proper cyber hygiene and to tackle it this way.